kind of an arena in here, which is kind of fun. Felt like a gladiator a little bit backstage, so I'm a little nervous. But thank you guys so much for having me. I'm excited to be in New Jersey today, first time in this lovely state, and from Southern California, so tried to bring some of the weather out my way as well for you all. A couple quick things before we get started. Those two names, Crochet Kids at Kohl Crecelius, Twitter, Instagram, you name it, you can find us there. But what I have to share with you guys today is a little bit about our story, about my story, and that's really all I have to share. I feel like that is what any of us have to share, in the sense that those are all the things that we can take with us and is our experiences and what we've done. And so I'm going to tell you a little bit about how me and my two good friends started this organization that Matt talked about. I would say that it was about 5 years ago that we set out on a journey to redefine a new category of business. I couldn't tell you that's what we were trying to do at the time, whether we even knew that or not, but we were armed with our naivety and our creativity in that. But before I get too far, I need to tell you guys a little bit of our backstory, a little bit of our history. You see, when I was in high school, of all things my older brother taught me, he taught me how to crochet. And there's probably a time in my life when I wouldn't be standing in front of a group of people like yourself and admitting that I'm a crocheter. But I'm here to say today that I crochet. I'm just going to get that out there. Thank you. Any other knitters or crocheters? Thank you. My people. So he taught me how to crochet, and I caught the fever, I can't lie. And I immediately taught my two good friends, and we started making hats, really similar to this one. And we went back to school after this summer break. We grew up in the Northwest, so we were wearing them on the ski hill, and it was super fun. Went back to our schools, and we said, hey, does anybody want to buy these? Like, we just had surplus of hats, and we weren't slowing down crocheting, so there was just more and more. So we were like, hey, who wants these? And there was this immediate response, and people were like, I want a hat. We were taking custom orders at that time, so no matter what anybody wanted, we would make it for them. We'd be taking down orders. We'd say, you want a green hat with a yellow stripe and purple ear flaps? We're thinking to ourselves, it's going to be the ugliest thing ever, but we'll make it for you, you know, lesson in entrepreneurship 101. And we started selling, and we started to make this money, and at that point, we were thinking, what could we do with this money? Like, we're in high school, what is the ultimate thing we could spend this on? And we thought of our senior prom. That's me on the left. We used some of this hard-earned crochet money, and we bought these sweet tuxes. We bought a hot air balloon ride for our dates. We thought life had reached its pinnacle at that point. Like, we were pretty bummed. Like, we were pretty sure it was only going downhill from there. Luckily, that wasn't the case, and there was a lot more of life to be experienced. And what we did as we went from there is we had new opportunities. Instead of crocheting, we were traveling. During our summer breaks at college, we found ourselves volunteering our time. And, you know, Matt talked about global poverty, and it was something that we had learned about, and we had seen all these statistics, and all that we could take away from these big and just seemingly insurmountable statistics was that there's nothing that could be done about these issues, you know? You just felt so helpless, so overwhelmed. But as we started to travel, we learned something very different. As we started to have an understanding of the context of poverty and to the people behind it, we realized that these people are amazing, you know, that they weren't these, you know, in many cases weren't just these downtrodden people who didn't have hopes or dreams or things they wanted to do in their future, that they had fire in them, they had joy in them, and those were the types of stories that we didn't feel like were being told very well. So it really got our wheels spinning, and we tried to think, what, if anything, could we do about the situation? And we continued to travel, and at one point we found ourselves in northern Uganda, of all places. And a little bit of a backstory here is that for the previous 20 years to us being here, there had been a rebel army group that had terrorized the north part of the country, forcing people into these tightly packed camps that looked very much like this. This is actually one of them, called IDP camps, or internally displaced people camps. And it was here that entire generations grew up without access to education or employment. And what we had found that there were so many organizations working in the area that were providing the needs of these people, providing the food that they needed, provided the medicine, the clothing. But we found there was a huge discontentedness amidst all this. And so we asked, is what could we do? Is there anything we could do to help? If you could be helped, what would you want? And as we got to know more people, it was as if they gave us their own solution. And they said, we want to work. We want to be the ones providing for ourselves. We're sick of people putting things on our table or sending our own kids to school when we want to be the ones to do that. Before all this mess happened, that's what we were doing. And that's if you can help us in any way, that's what we want to do. And this literally flipped our whole concept of charity, what it meant to be charitable, on its head. And it really got our heads spinning. We said, wow, like what, if anything, could we do to help provide work to these people, Like what our concept prior to being in Uganda was that we are from America, we have these resources, these opportunities, we have things we need to be giving, We need to be giving money, we need to be giving food, when really what was needed was opportunities. So, like I said, we started to ask that question more and more. What can we do? We engaged other friends in that conversation, family, whoever we could talk to. We started asking. And somebody at one point said, well, you guys know how to crochet. And I was like, no, please, no more crocheting. Like, that's over, Like, that was for high school prom. We're talking about global poverty here. Hello. There's got to be some sort of difference. And but people kept kind of giving us that feedback, saying, well, that could be a job, that could be an opportunity to someone. And the more that we thought about it, being halfway through college at this point, we thought, wow, like the simplicity of it maybe is its genius, right? It takes hook and yarn and you can make beautiful things. That could happen anywhere. And we also saw the opportunity in providing jobs, providing ways for people to really take the first steps in controlling their own lives. So myself and those same two goofy guys you saw in that prom picture, we decided that we were going to go back to Uganda and we were going to teach people how to crochet. And this is where I celebrate. At the beginning I said we were armed with our naivety and our creativity. Our naivety is the fact that we were going to go into northern Uganda, sub-Saharan landlocked Africa, and start a business where we were making headwear that would be sold here in the United States. And any one of our business professors or anybody at the time was just like, really? Like, I thought we taught you maybe a little bit better about the viability of businesses like this. But we didn't care, right? Like, and I think what's beautiful about that and something that we hold to this day is just saying, like, we don't know all the answers, but we don't have to take things as they are. Just because business hasn't happened in sub-Saharan Africa for a variety of reasons doesn't mean that it can't happen. Who's to stop us? Like, we don't have experience doing other things that ingrained us in saying, like, this is impossible. It was to say that, we're going to try and we're going to start small and take steps, but we are going to make this happen. And so those same two guys and then a group of about 8 other of our friends, we literally talk about international logistics. We got these duffel bags that were about this tall and about this big around, and we stuffed them full of yarn, like as full as any bag has ever been stuffed. In the history of bags, I'm sure these were stuffed the most. And they were like literally standing on them like, wow. And crochet hooks. And a couple guys went over ahead of time and worked with some local organizations and some friends that we had met the summer prior. And we eventually found ourselves in a group, in a room with 10 women and a couple translators, and we taught them how to crochet. And it was the most surreal experience of our life. And the night before, I'll tell you that we kind of got all the way, we had planned, we'd applied to become a nonprofit. We were on the eve of this momentous occasion where we would teach people to crochet. And then we paused for a second the night before and we were like, oh, what if they suck at crocheting? It's over. I guess we just leave the yarn and maybe they can use it as fishing wire. I don't know. But that wasn't the case. And we taught them stitch by stitch. We gave them the skill, that we had. And so what I'm going to show you next is a quick video of what Crochet Kids is today, kind of how this process and this cycle works. And then we'll talk a little bit more about our theory of change and what we're up to. So here we go.
At Crochet Kids International, we are empowering people to rise above poverty and all the problems that come with it. Things like war, disease, famine, dependency, hunger, and the list goes on. But you need to meet Betty. Betty is taught how to crochet a hat, and she signs every one that she makes. Her hat is then sent to the United States, and through your purchase, the profits return to Africa to help Betty provide food, water, clothes, and education for not only herself, but her immediate family members and their community as well. After a period of 3 years, Betty has enough savings and education to start things like farming or cattle herding or even starting her own small business, whatever her dreams may be. The sale of one hat is life-changing. For a hat is a job, it's education, it's healthcare, it's a bank account, it's a loan, it's an opportunity, it's freedom, it's a new life. When you buy a hat, you enable a sustainable cycle of employment, education, and mentorship for Betty, and for Beatrice, and for Alice, and for Cinderella, and for Brenda, and for over 80 others. A hat's impact suddenly becomes exponential as Ugandans are now helping Ugandans. Buy a hat, change a life.
So the one thing that I'll say about this is that we had a decision to make, and we wanted to be a nonprofit organization. We wanted to really wear our heart on our sleeve in a sense and showing what we wanted to be all about, which was helping those that were most in need. And so we saw these two models ahead of us. We said, okay, we could be a nonprofit, but what exists there is this reliance upon donations. There's a lot of challenges that are related to that and sustainably helping somebody in the long term. And then we looked at a business and we said, you know, that's another opportunity for us in the sense that we could start something that is sustainable in the sense of being a business, but that kind of fell short for us too because, you know, at the end of the day, for a business, it's to maximize the shareholders' value, it's to gain profit, and that wasn't aligning with our mission. So we really ultimately wanted to create this hybrid that said we are a nonprofit organization, but we're actually sustained through the hats that we make and sell in our project locations. And that is kind of the unique model, the revolutionary thing that we're excited about with our programs and the work that we're doing. So we're proudly a nonprofit organization today. And the other thing that we noticed was that if we really wanted to be about empowerment, that it was a lot more than a job. That we could give somebody a job in Uganda, but that was really only a first step. If we really believed that people living in these circumstances could take control of their own lives and pave a new way, we needed to be about helping set people up to stand on their own 2 feet independent of our programs. So that's what we work towards, and that's what that video is talking about in the sense of giving somebody a job, investing in education and mentorship so that they can find local opportunities to sustain themselves and their families for years to come. So all of this, though, really ultimately comes back to a hat and creating really cool and fun products. Like the one I'm wearing, like the one Bethany is wearing, and these are being made in Uganda. There's 150 women now in Uganda and 20 women in Peru as well that are making these hats. They're being sold in stores like Nordstrom across the country, and as was mentioned in that video, every hat is hand-signed by the woman that made it. Because when we talk about our theory of change, when we say we can invest in a person in their employment and their education, we can offer mentors to them and help people guide them, that ultimately nothing is going to happen unless they have the self-confidence and their abilities to accomplish their own dreams, right? And so this is where we have engaged the global community, the people here in the U.S. in a way of taking part in that empowerment. By not only knowing who made your hat, by not only looking inside and seeing that Achiro Rose handcrafted this hat, but by going onto our website and reading a little bit more about her story, reading what she's gone through, but also what her hobbies are, what she's interested in, what her dreams are for her future. And it's in that way, and then scrolling down a little bit further and writing a thank you note to her, that something truly special happens, that somebody here in the U.S. can be connected with a person in Uganda, and that at the same time, these thank you notes traveling to her can make an impact in her in validating who she is and saying, hey, I see that you want to start a business, Rose. I am praying, I'm hoping, I'm wishing the best for you. And for someone in Uganda who had formerly been so isolated, to hear that and to know that is something truly special. So lastly, what I'm going to do and where I'll end is showing you a video of what this life change really looks like, a video of one of our ladies in Uganda, Akello Welsi Olara. So here's her story.
At the bottom of everything, at the heart, I think we knew that we had the help. We probably bit off more than we could chew, but I think it ended up being a really good thing. And it's just hats, you know. But we're always talking about what a hat does, how it impacts a life, and we're trying to measure these things. But I think we learned what's more important are the things that can't be measured or graphed, just not a statistic. Because it's bigger than that. And it's these stories. Stories like Welsi Olara's. They'll change you forever, you know? When a woman who has had nothing has been beaten and bruised because of what life has thrown at her, it's not fair. It was never her fault that she was abducted, that she saw her family killed in front of her. Now her community won't even take her back. That she's a victim in every sense of the word. But then you realize that things can change. Because they have changed. Just when she says what she wants to be in the future. Do you know how radical that is for her? She's even talking about her future. And it's then, and only then, that you realize that it's not about the money, it's not about the education, but she is free to be whomever she wants to be. A new person. She has the freedom to choose the food her children eat, where she wants to put them in school, and even how she'll dress them. Welsi Olara is providing futures now. You can hear it when she says things like she's going to build a house to keep her family safe, even after she is gone. That she wants to be a social worker and work with the marginalized community. The fact that she can say something like that is unreal, you know. And in all the monitoring and evaluations, I think we get most excited about the things like courage, hope, and dreams. That's what a hat really does. That's the story. And these ladies are rewriting their own stories. And we love that.
That's our story. Thank you guys so much for having me. We'll have hats out in the lobby, and if you have questions, I'm